Vou gravar aqui como foi a jornada, né? Eu fiz o meu personagem principal, o Ifan. Ele foi um summoner polimorfia. E a Loz eu fiz com água, vento e summoner também. Aí as habilidades dele eu botei só essas daqui. A dela essas daqui. Juntei um pouco de dinheiro, uns itens aqui. Guardei todas as chaves e coisas que não dá pra vender do jogo aqui. Aqui são os itens que eu pensei que fosse usar, mas só usei esses três na verdade. Os itens dela tá ok. Ela foi aqui, ó, água, vento, necromancia e summoner. Ela servia pra roubar coisa com Thievery e telecinese pra mover coisa. Ele foi persuasão, falou com a galera e eu comecei a botar nele sorte, só que só chegou a 2 só. É ok, ele que conversava com os animais. Aqui ele foi necromancia, polimorfia e summoner. E aqui nele tá tudo ok. Inteligência, constituição, wits e força. Eu acho que é isso. Já completei todas as missões. Essas aqui estão fechadas, aqui bugou porque eu matei o cara antes de falar com ele. Esse aqui é o final. Então vamos lá, né? Já liberei o caminho, já fiz os puzzles aqui, já abri. Só falta mesmo chegar na batalha final. A batalha final vai ser fácil, porque afinal de contas eu... o Quercus e o cara, Sr. Lora. Enfim, a batalha final vai ser fácil, porque eu tô jogando no modo fácil. Eu não gosto muito de jogo de... Tu tá falando com o quê? Tu tá falando com a porta? Tá falando com a porta. Enfim, eu não gosto muito de jogo de turno, aí eu botei no fácil. Eu prefiro mais a exploração do jogo. Mas até que foi legalzinho. Mas não vai demorar, sabe? Quando for na batalha final, a batalha final deve ser bem rápida. Por causa que eu tô forte e a batalha vai ser fácil. Então... Pronto, cheguei até aqui.
The truth hangs.
Ok. Tá na hora da verdade.
I have a thought.
Ah, você tem um pensamento, é?
My goodness. Here we are, Quercus. What do you mean, Quercus? Of course I'm prepared. I have my noble steed below me.
His whiskers crack.
And I may have cracked the spell that will stop the great acorn in its fury.
Sir Laura turns to you. His beady eyes
I owe you an apology, Shield. At the start of our... But I see now that my prejudice was foolish. Now here I am. Here we are, on the brink of saving the world. Indeed, Quercus and I will find an advantageous location and do just that. Meanwhile, you...
Sir Laura takes a...
You feel it, don't you? It's so still. But there's something behind. The great acorn is nearly... We've known this moment would come. I am Quercus, and you, Shield?
Sir Laura nods in return and grabs your pinky with his tiny paw.
No matter what happens next, Shield, there's... It has... Now!
Oh, emocionei. Aha.
Come
Calma.
here often. I don't know what you
You come here
did,
often.
but you just released a source flood. I thought I'd come and see what all the fuss was about. Should have known. Looks like the big moment has finally arrived. I will do everything I can to support you, Godwoken. I will pray for you. I think you'll need it. Don't underestimate the power of true prayer. This is a place of incredible power where a single prayer... Consider it a taste of your divine future. The people will... Of course, it's up to you whether or not to listen.
Malady wearily chuckles to herself, then bows her head.
Looks like my investment's paid off after.
I need worship, only one divine. And I believe he...
I've always preferred to be the one reaping the attention. But you've turned the tables. I suppose it's only right, seeing as how a new divinity...
Now go. Rivellon needs a new...
Oh, obrigado, gente, obrigado. Vocês me reverenciaram, foi? Ah, menos SP costa. Obrigado, galera, obrigado. Não tem nada pra roubar aqui, também não precisa, você vai roubar pra quê? E já vai acabar o jogo agora. Deixa eu dar uma salvadinha de leve aqui.
If I... God woken. Dallas said you would come, old friend. You were always hard as diamonds. And you're divine.
The traitor himself, the divine you once selflessly served, the one you thought dead, lords over the chamber from a granite throne. He moves to speak, but it's Wiedemann's voice.
What a twist.
Lucian frowns at Wiedemann, then bestows a benevolent smile upon you. All that you know of him...
I underestimated you, Godwoken. You have...
Respect?
Indeed.
Indeed.
Lucian's gaze rests upon you, and goes through you.
Lucian, we should tell him...
Yes, I agree.
Dallas nods, then reaches for the sides of her head. Where there was one face, suddenly there are four. She takes off the mask of the shapeshifter. A skull is revealed, bejeweled and ancient as the void.
I am eternal.
Aren't they just full of surprises?
Fear not, old friend. Dallas is on the side of all that is good. She is helping me rid Rivellon of the influence...
I shall tell you the tale as I told long ago. The Scholar Fane discovered that the veil between the world and the void was made of source. Our seven...
Of course.
Silence, slave. Our king forbade the seven to reach for this power, but they didn't listen. Instead, they rebelled and sent the king and his...
With the source they stole from the veil, the seven created the races so they would have worshippers.
During their lives, worshippers collect souls. When they die, the gods feed from them.
Our souls are nothing but vats for the source-hungry gods.
The seven made a mistake. By taking its source, they tore a hole in the veil, and it is through this hole that the void finds its way in.
The seven's lust for power let in the void. Our goal is to close the hole they created. When we are done, there shall be no more source in the world. Rivellon will be finally free from the gods that enslaved them.
He hesitates, then he's...
Here is the truth. I have killed thousands, perhaps millions, for the greater good. But I made a mistake. My one mistake meant all those sacrifices were for naught. Those sacrifices must have meaning. They must...
I seek vengeance against the king and...
There is more, but she hesitates to share it.
I was a child when the God King tore my family apart. I was purged of source and left to rot in a... It was hell. A hell I suffered for the sins of my father. He was the one that betrayed the god. The cruel joke of it all is that the same tomb that housed my tortured body is what sheltered me from the void. Few Eternals is my father, but now I finally have revenge.
Oh,
Revenge on the Seven and the God King. Revenge for what they took from me. My life. My people.
The hammer's voice falters and her coolness vanishes. Every crack and rasp betrays her grief.
He never even looked for me. He never...
Dallas, control yourself. Our purpose transcends your personal...
Yes.
Dallas's reasons weren't mine to question. All that ever mattered to me was peace. Peace for Rivellon. Peace for me, whatever the means. And now, we are...
She sacrificed herself for the... She didn't do it willingly, mind you. Curiosity led her to the tomb. My hunger for source. And then I took her place. Face rippers are such marvels, aren't they? It didn't take long to realize that Lucian was the key to my vengeance. And I was the key to the salvation of
While Dallas sought the Aetherin, I started draining the gods of their...
Slurped.
One more word from you, and I shall use.
I had to hide from the gods. So I had the walls of this crypt equipped with tenebrium and protections put in place. It worked. Everyone, even the gods, thought me dead. As divine, I was created, empowered to stop the void. I was the avatar of the Seven, their strength and their weakness. My bond to them allowed me to drain them of their source.
Yes, in a sense. When the death fog was unleashed, many elves died. With fewer elves to worship him, Tyrsendilius weakened. To strengthen himself, he sent his Voidwoken, the remnants of my people, to hunt down the sorcerer's secret.
The Voidwoken. Disgusting things. They ravaged the land they touched and infected the air. You see, blaming the sorcerers for Voidwoken made them easier to capture.
The Eterran now contains almost all of the source the Seven stole. Soon, we will...
The void shall be banished, and I, Lucian the Divine, shall return. A false divine, of course. I shall have no power, but the world will not know this.
The plan is almost complete.
We have made so many sacrifices, Ifan. All of us. Of ourselves and those we...
Decide. Be the true hero and give up your source, or be...
There is no other way. The sword... We only lack yours. Ifan, these were sacrifices that had to be made. You were but one. Each of them pains me, but... And now, so must you.
As I say, one last sacrifice is required. Yours. Good.
The world shall not know this. I shall return from the grave, a divine without power, yet all who desire power shall fear me. I shall carry the secret of my lack of divinity. Alexander was Godwoken. Once, years ago, I should have killed Damien, but instead took him as my son.
The task fell to...
And me.
Then let us proceed. Show some response...
You'll be a hero. Everyone will know of the sacrifice you'll make. Your name will...
Don't let them do this to us!
I understand. Your sacrifice shall...
I'm sorry. You've come such a long...
Ok, vamos começar a batalha de verdade agora. Tá todo mundo blessed menos eu, né? É bom que o espaço é curtinho, dá pra juntar todo mundo aqui, né? Quem é que vai lutar o próximo? É ela. Joga aqui, joga no meio desses dois aqui. Aí eu invoco o meu cara. Boto o rodopio nele. Aumenta a força dele e vai dar conta. Acho melhor fazer isso, né? Não, porque ele é força física e se eu tirar isso vai ser força mágica, então melhor botar aqui. Aí dá o rodopio, cadê o rodopio? Ele tem 5.000, isso aqui tem... focar logo no boss. Ok, ela vai atacar agora. Acabou o turno. Perfeito. Vem tu também. Tu vai cair aqui na muvuca. Tá dando pra galera aí. Ok, alguém morreu. Quem foi que morreu? Alguém. Pula aqui na muvuca. Bota o Logo isso pra ele. Aumenta a força dele. Agora é o rodopio. Alguém morreu aí. Só por via das dúvidas, dá um desse. Pra diminuir a demora pra eu atacar de novo. Opa, mas já? Tem esse. Tem esse. E tem o chefão. Vou focar logo nesse. Daqui de trás. Tem que dar ataque físico nele. Pra ele morrer logo. E aqui eu mando em todo mundo aqui. Não pega nem todo mundo. Ok. Pegou em 3. Eita, me derrubou. Tirou toda a armadura física dela. Poxa. Bem forte. Ok. O que eu posso fazer agora? Eu tô controlando esse aqui. Eu posso matar esse. Que diabo foi isso? Tu errou. Ah, meu Deus, tu errou. Ok, mais um morreu. Quem vai morrer agora? 1700, 3000, 3000. 1700 volta. Ok. Dallas, 3600. Ou Lucian. Mata logo o Lucian. Eu posso fazer assim para pegar os dois. Jogar aqui no Lucian. Dá mais um golpe pro meu cara. Cadê o meu? Ok, ela tá sem armadura nenhuma. Eu posso dar aqui nele. Ele tá invulnerável por um turno. Ok. Eu posso dar mais 2 ataques nela. Mais vantajoso do que dar um. Morreu, agora só falta o chefão. Ele tá invulnerável ainda? Tá. Vulnerável. Então não adianta gastar ponto nenhum. Ainda tá invulnerável? Tá não. Não, tranquilo. Cadê tu? Ai meu Deus! Ah, é fogo sagrado. Que susto. Bota isso aqui.
I'm ready.
Ok. Cadê ele? Usar esse poder mais forte aqui. Ok, morreu.
Lucian struggles to rise, but the weight of his own pain leaves him to gravity.
My time is done. But your source burns so bright I'm all but blinded by it. Be wise.
Dallas groans.
I have failed this.
She casts her gaze around the...
After everything we've been through, after everything we've seen, here we are. Here I am. And now that I see godhood before me, Chief, you need to accept there's no one I would trust with this responsibility but you. And I know you'll do it with style. I hope not. You'll be a god, not an Now go on, shoot. You've got business.
You think back on your journey here. On all you think of the Magisters and the sorcerers they hunted. And you think of how the Eternals came as Voidwoken to you look at the source around you. You think of what you could do with such power. You marvel at your journey and how it has changed you. You think of those you left behind. It's time to choose your fate. Shall you be divine? After all that you have been through, and all that you have done, all that you have become, the Aetheran lies in front of you. Divinity is or to sack. What you do next decides your own fate. What shall you do with Divinity?
Encha nosso destino como Godwoken, se torna o próximo divino. Ser somente o divino ou dá pra todo mundo? Allow yourself and all the world to be purged. Ok, vamos lá. Ser o único divino e continuar como sempre continuou. Ou dá pra todo mundo o Source e todo mundo vai continuar lutando contra os bichos do Void que vai ficar voltando. Ou tirar o Source do mundo e viver em paz. Vou tirar o Source do mundo. Tum, 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 tum.
And so it ended. A tale that began with my own ill-fated attempt to rid the world of the Godwoken. Dallas the Hammer, the secret Eternal, purged the Godwoken and used the Source to close the veil to the Void. The world was saved. Statues in memory of the Godwoken who sacrificed their Source were erected all across Rivellon. They would never be forgotten. The half-demon Malady took pity on the soulless Godwoken silent monks and brought them to the Hall of Echoes. There, from the scraps of their souls that remained, she restored them to life. Sorcerers no more, they lived out the rest of their lives, freed of the burden of being the Godwoken. Freed from the weight of the world. As for me, I was already free. And so were the others. The Godwoken sacrifice severed the bond between the Sworn and the God King. To atone for my sins, I spent the rest of my days taking care of the sick and elderly, telling the story of the Godwoken, that the world may never forget the greatest heroes Rivellon had ever known.
Ok, é isso. E agora? Conversar com a Malady?
Malady stands tall and proud. Sunlight.
Ah, there you are. More than a silent monstrosity, less than a god. In the end, I'm not... Where did I go wrong? How is so poor. Unfortunately for me. Still, I'd expected quite a bit more from you. I was interested in being owed a favor, but never mind.
She fingers the mask covering her face. For a moment, it seems as though she's about to remove it. But instead, she places a hand on your shoulder.
We've come a long way together. I did my best by you all the way.
She looks you up.
I guess take a moment, why don't relax, enjoy. I certainly plan to do the same. The same way I do everything, of course. Demonic. Oh, I don't know. Around and about. Treat myself to some... Perhaps our paths will cross it until we find...
Cadê a Lose? Não tá... Oh, o Perkus e o Sorlora. Tem muita gente aqui, né? No mapa tá dizendo que tem muita gente aqui, mas não tô vendo ninguém. Tá, tem um aqui. Tudo bom, meu filho?
Well, Quackers, look who finally graced us with their presence. I suppose some thank was. No, you should be thanking me. I just say you're welcome. By honesty, Quackers, some creatures have no sense of perspective.
Melhor personagem.
A huge grin slowly spread.
Of course, had you not stopped this God King and his lack...
The cat moves forward, twisting around your legs, and...
Ah, Quackers! Please, have a little decorum. This battle is won, my friend, but we still have a war to fight. We've undone the Great Acorn, but they summoned the Great Acorn once. They will be able to summon it again. We have... That is the future Quackers and I have ahead of us. We no longer need a shield. But we... And a well-designed... I never thought I would be proud to have befriended... Oh, Quackers! There is no one that we would rather... I do not know what comes next for you. Come, Quackers. We must... Oh, I think you have something in your eye, my...
The cat curls up and snuggles into his...
Oh. Ok, falei com a Melody. Tem o Jahan aqui. O Jahan. Ah, então para terminar vai ser conversando com todos os NPCs.
To shield it, the barriers between Nemesis and Rivellon.
Ok, tem esse cabo aqui, quem é? É o Beast? Não quero saber do Beast não. Mal falei com ele no jogo.
No more swords, no more powers.
É verdade, ó, aqui tá sem os swords.
I know you have plenty of other qualities. Reform my ways. How adorable.
Her eyes flick down to your mouth. She smiles coyly, then slinks forward to kiss you. Almira pouts in disappointment.
Oh, no matter. We'll always have our first kiss. I haven't been quite able to put it out of my mind. Just as I'm sure you won't be able to put me. Who knows? A nice cottage someplace quiet from the Hallion. But a girl needs some fun, doesn't it?
Sim, minha filha. Mas minha girl é a Lose, não é você. Eu também não quero saber não, pode ficar aí morta aí.
The purging that once silenced you remains on your mind as you approach Gareth. You are grateful for
Amazing, I'm still here. That you're here. I only did what I was meant to do. I don't deserve...
Gareth shakes his head vigorously in response.
Self-pity is as dangerous as any man I have battled, Alexander included. In this new world, this world without the...
Aside from a single blink, Gareth stands...
Time. Time has a way of changing someone. Lucian did not start as the man he became. Lucian doesn't need me. And believe me when I say, I find a way to fit. I wasn't just content to lurk in Lucian's shadow. I was his shadow. Now I stand in the sun, and so I find out. My goal is to have a goal, if that makes sense at all.
É verdade. O Fenner eu também não vou falar não, porque eu mal falei no jogo. Quero saber onde é que tá a Lose. Ah, tem a criança aqui. Não fala com a criança não. Opa, tem alguém aqui. Quem é tu? Ah, é a Lose. Ah, então vamos falar com a criança, já tô passando na frente mesmo. E aí, criança?
You don't.
É, beleza.
You are a very, very, very lucky person. If Malady hadn't restored us, I'd be a drooling monstrosity, but a vengeful one. Me too. I would have made an awful silent monk. Alosa must sing, and that's that. I don't know if anyone's free of anything.
But I'm bloody thrilled to be here now. Just me.
Get loot, play loot, get glad. So, Chief, I guess this is it, right? Well, I mean, you can always come with me. I mean, if you want, maybe? I still love you.
As she turns from you, the whites of her eyes darken, the veins in her face go grey, and a wick suddenly it's gone again. She winks, and you
see you around.
Certo, vamos aqui pra baixo. E tem que saber onde é que gera a tela de créditos, né? Gente, eu vou gerar a tela de crédito onde? Conversando com o barco, é? Dá ainda pra conversar com o barco. Ou tem alguma opção de terminar o jogo? Tem não, eu acho que é com o barco, né?
It gives me almost as much pleasure to speak to you as it does to be whole again. I will always be an ally to those that carry swords. To those I am at the ready.
She is full of surprises. My wood was splintered. I feel better than new.
You look out to the endless beyond. The sun's light plays upon the waves, just as it always did. The sails flutter in the wind, just as they always will. And yet, something is different, and with a start, you realize where you must go next. You speak the command to the lady. At last, the world was at peace.
Começamos aqui, viemos pra cá, passamos ali, terminou no
The
ar.
ancient lizard empire opened its gates. The houses disbanded, and the empire adopted a pluralist quasi-democracy. Anyone could vote for whoever they pleased, as long as the House of Shadows approved. Justinia returns to her throne. Under her rule, the Dwarven kingdom prospered, until 2 years later, a jealous lover stabbed her in the heart with a mutton fork.
Acontece, né?
Lucian made amends to the elves. He gave them lands and vast riches from the coffers of the old divine order. But the elves never forgave him. They would not trust humans again.
Tá mais que certo.
And in a dark forest on the far side of a desert, well beyond the high seas, the Black Ring came together once more. The island of Fort Joy, the old redoubt of the Source King Brachus Rex, was turned over to the people of Driftwood to use as they wished. They turned it into a holiday resort. Reaper's Coast prospered.
Só isso, né? Boa.
The fisheries returned, and the fertile farmlands produced the greatest harvests the surviving farmers had ever seen. Blood Moon Island became particularly fecund, its soil producing the greatest crops. A particularly crimson-fleshed orange grown on the island became a delicacy across half the world. The black pits took fire. The oil there burns still. Driftwood became a centre of industry, trade and transport.
Bom.
Your lizard lover finally returned to the ancient lizard empire, there to found the newest and most popular of all the houses, the House of Love. After a long and harrowing journey, Lovric the Waiter arrived in Sicile, where he opened a tavern. The meaty stew became famed almost as much for its food as it was for its greasy, abusive owner. Lagan left his over-demanding wife and began a relationship with a local bard. In the spirit of loving generosity, he returned the ring to his now ex-wife. In a fit of rage, she threw it into the sea.
que tava na praia, um anel caiu no mar. Nossa, que
The
negócio
nameless
aleatório.
isle had vanished. Although only open water remained, by instinct ships would steer clear. None of the captains could articulate why. Sir Gareth thanked the surviving Seekers for their service and gave them their freedom. Disillusioned with peace, he set out alone to find a new purpose. He would never stop seeking. Young Han went into the theatre and became one of the realm's most popular actors. Almira and Mihaili settled down on the farm. The locals liked and respected Almira. She never wanted for help, and deals always fell to her favor. She presumed she had them in thrall. The truth was, they just liked her. With no new divine, Malady found herself in a predicament. She had an important problem to solve, but no ally strong enough to call upon, and so her search continued. Jahan the demon hunter found himself at a loose end, so he opened a museum of demonic artifacts. He made a fortune. With Lucian in power, Sahala took the elves away from the world. They grew strong once more amidst the trees of the regrown home forest. Some say her plans for revenge will bring about the end of days. Some say only Tova, her mother, holds her back. Lucian returned as divine, united the races, and became Lord Emperor of all Rivellon. Only Dallis knew that he was entirely powerless. Dallis and you. The Eternal, now known as Dallis, was a secret advisor to Lucian and to his successors. For eons she would walk in the world, and would outlive the peoples and all, and wander alone amongst the dying stars. Lohse returned to her music, and enjoyed a storied career as Rivellon's premier musician. Dark moods would at times overtake
Ela
her,
tem o
and
cabelo
she would spend long
da
hours
Jaina,
walking in the
né? Jaina
wilds.
Prodmore.
She always returned with a new song. And then there was you. You returned to the world as one more human among many. Your future was yours to decide. Did you accept your new status with humility, or did you rebel? Only you know the truth. Only you know if you atone for your sins.
É, acabou. Muito bom, 10 de 10. Falou.